Welcome back to episode number 5 of the Harvest Podcast. I'm Devin with the big hair, and this episode is brought to you by Growers Network. Growers Network is dedicated to helping cannabis professionals learn more about cultivation and professional cannabis growing. For more details about the topics covered in this episode, take a look at the article it was based on at growersnetwork.org. We've also got our returning sponsor, DryGair, which is an Israeli-based company that manufactures dehumidifiers and climate control systems. If you're interested in getting a dehumidifier for your grow-up, check them out at DryGair.com. That's DRYGAIR.com. So, you're an aspiring grower and potential partaker, and you want to keep your buds dry and healthy, right? You've taken the classes, you know your shtick, but maybe last night's party hasn't quite worn off yet, and you've got to wake up early to set up your new grow. Well, roll another blunt and chill, because I've got you covered with today's crash course on humidity, air temperature, and dew points. As always, we're starting basic, making sure everyone's on the same page. We'll start with humidity. It's a pretty straightforward concept on its own. The air around us is made up of gases, and gaseous water, or water vapor, is one of them. We can measure the amount of water in the air with relative humidity, which measures how much water vapor is in the air as a percentage of the amount of water the air can hold in total. On those days where you can literally rub your hands together and make water from the friction, the relative humidity is high. On the other hand, it's such a dry heat out here in the Washington summers that it feels like sticking your head in the oven. Still, even with all that pressure and air stillness, it's not humid. We've got two main factors that determine the relative humidity, the amount of water vapor in the air and the temperature of the air itself. We know how important temperature and moisture is to plants, so we can assume the relative humidity is a very important thing to monitor and control in a grow facility, and it is. But there's a second reason we bother with it, and it's something I covered a bit in the last episode. Simply put, pot isn't the only thing you're growing in that little startup of yours. If you're being laissez-faire about your humidity levels, chances are you've got an unwelcome guest named botrytis in your grow. Botrytis, or bud rot, is literally a plague on our crop. Moldy fungus does not exactly look good wrapped in a tobacco leaf. Make sure you keep your humidity at a decent level to avoid all that. Best way to keep humidity looking good? This might seem like the most obvious answer in the world, but have a dehumidifier, as well as the right sort of humidification setup that works with your grow. You'll find some good people who know the plant industry well at DryGair. These guys have set up countless operations around the world and bring the big guns to recommend the right system for you. Remember to check them out at DryGair.com, but don't click away just yet, I've still got a show to finish. Now, cannabis is highly susceptible to bud rot during flowering. Its dense buds will hold on to humidity and become the perfect dark little microclimate for bud rot to set up shop. What's more, cannabis leaves are constantly transpiring, adding even more water vapor to the mix. Think about that. What you have happening is the anatomy and physiology of the plant working against you. It doesn't mean to, it was born that way, and that's why we have to help it. So, we've got our humidity levels and water vapor story down pat. What's left to talk about? Well, what if I told you that water is wet? Believe it or not, we have to worry just as hard about liquid water as well as water vapor, since both will contribute to moldy plants if not taken care of. Now, remember how we mentioned that relative humidity is determined by water vapor and temperature? Well, temperatures don't stay the same. They can vary between day and night. When it gets cold enough, water vapor will start to condense and stuff will start to sweat like a cold can of beer on a hot day. And guess what happens to that water vapor inside your buds when it cools down? That's right, condensation. Liquid water that serves as an open invitation for bud rot to come on over. If we want to get a handle on how humidity and temperature work together, we need to understand the dew point. The dew point is not that makeout spot on the cliff above town. We're talking water vapor still. And this is the term you'll often see weathercasters talking about. The dew point is the temperature at which the air becomes saturated with water, meaning it can't hold any more and the water vapor turns to liquid. The dew point is the temperature at which the air becomes saturated with water, meaning it can't hold any more and the water vapor turns to liquid. Dew point varies based on the temperature, because warm air can hold more water vapor than cold air. That's why you get those drops of water on that cold beer from earlier, as the cold can pushes water vapor past the dew point, and it condenses out of the air into the liquid you see on the can. Let's use another analogy to help us understand how temperature and relative humidity are intertwined. Imagine the air as a sponge. Now, we know a sponge can only hold so much water before it fills up and water begins to appear, or condense. If our temperature is constant, we remove water from the air and no more condensation. But temperatures aren't constant, and those temperature changes are like the size of our sponge changing. Hotter air means a bigger sponge, colder air means a smaller sponge. Large sponges, or warm air, can hold a lot more water than small sponges, or cool air. When the temperature rises, relative humidity drops and reduces condensation. If we understand how dew point relates to condensation, we can monitor temperatures around our grow, preventing condensation from developing in places we may not expect, such as walls, ceilings, metal pipes, as well as places we can expect, the plants themselves. And the moral of the story, if we can understand dew point and work around it, we can save on money and wasted time, and in the end, improve our quality. And that's it for this episode of the Harvest Podcast. If you want to be featured in our Growers Spotlight articles or have it read by my smooth, buttery voice in a Harvest Podcast, shoot an email to nick@growersnetwork.org with a subject header Harvest. If you'd like to learn more about growing cannabis with us, check us out at growersnetwork.org. Subscribe to our feed to get the latest Harvest episodes with exclusive info and promos. Read the latest news and tips on how to grow and much, much more. Check out the community, find like-minded individuals, and learn with us. I'm Devin with the Big Hair. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.